Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. To proceed, inshallah, today we will have Bab al-Qalaq, the chapter on anxiety, and we will have the chapter on settlements, sulh. First, Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah ta'ala said in his book Manaazil As-Saa'ireen, chapter of anxiety, Bab al-Qalaq, or the station of anxiety, which is the station number 64, and we are here in the section of the states, al-Ahwal, meaning the inner spiritual states, and we started by al-Mahabba. Now, Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala said here, as usual, he begins with, in every chapter he begins with quoting an ayah from the Quran. He quoted here a verse from the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relates from Musa alayhi salam, his saying, وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّ لِتَرْضَى. قال الله عز وجل حاكيا عن موسى عليه السلام وعجلت إليك ربي لترضى. Allah the Almighty said, relating from Musa عليه السلام, and I hasten to you, my Lord, that you be pleased. And I hasten to you, my Lord, that you be pleased. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was telling him, ما أعجلك عن قومك يا موسى. Why have you come before your people? The agreement is to bring your people here. Why is it that you came and your people have not come with you? قال هم أولئك على أثري. They're coming after me. And I hasten to you, O my Lord, that sort of anxiety, that eagerness is what caused Musa to his people and to not accompany them to the place of the meeting, or not to stay with them, or to not basically stay in their company until they reach the destination or the designated place of the meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's appropriate. He was impatient to basically stay in the company of his people. And that's what qalaq is about. That's what anxiety is about. We talked about hub. We talked about al-ghayra. We talked about the root of this is hub, is love. And then al-ghayra is the protectiveness of the beloved, and the protectiveness of your relationship with the beloved. Your protectiveness of the beloved means protectiveness of the sanctities of the beloved, and that is longing or yearning. And then comes qalaq. People who are yearning, people who are longing for someone, they may exhibit anxiety, right? If you're yearning for someone who's absent, if a mother is waiting for her absent child, she may start to exhibit manifestations of anxiety. So it is not unexpected after the chapter of al-Shawq to have the chapter of al-Qalaq. That's why Shaykh said here, القلق تحريك الشوق بإسقاط الصبر. القلق تحريك الشوق بإسقاط الصبر. And anxiety refers to the stirring of a shawq, the stirring of that longing, that yearning, the feeling of yearning, by relinquishing patience. So you're not holding on to patience anymore. You just can't hold on to patience anymore. Just like Musa alayhi salam. He was too impatient to wait or not wait, to stay in the company of his people, or to go at the pace of his people. He wanted to get ahead. He wanted to get faster to the place of meeting with his Lord Azza wa Jal. So that is qalaq. And then the Shaykh said, وَهُوَ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ دَرَجَاتٍ, and it is of 3 levels. الدرجة الأولى قلق يضيق الخلق ويبغض الخلق ويلذذ الموت. The first level is an anxiety that makes the character difficult, causes uptightness, makes the character difficult. It makes, And then وَيُبَغِضُ الْخَلْقِ makes the people dislikable. And then the third one, وَيُلَذِّذُ الْمَوْتِ, and makes the notion of death delightful or pleasing. Makes death pleasing. Well, someone, and I see the, the half smiles. Because it is expected, and who would want that? And isn't that the image of the religious person who's uptight and just difficult and repulsive, also hateful, and at the end nihilist? He wants to die. So that's someone who's uptight and basically hateful, يبغض الخلق, and nihilist. No, it's not necessarily. It depends on how you understand it. But to some extent, this is what you have to understand is that we're talking here about states that people go through. They are not the final states. And they are not the only states. They could be tempered by other states. They could be tempered by other states. They could also be bridges to other states that are higher. But are these states real? Yes, they are real. So where does this come from? Where would someone have, where would religiosity cause someone to have uptightness, to be difficult, not easygoing? First of all, what have we been instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger? To be difficult or to be easygoing? To be uptight or to be forgiving and pardoning and, we have, ليس شيء أثقل في الميزان من حسن الخلق. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ليس شيء أثقل في الميزان من حسن الخلق. There is nothing heavier in one's scale than good character. Isn't that what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? There is nothing heavier in one's scale than good character. ما أكثر ما يدخل الناس الجنة قال حسن الخلق. What will cause the largest number of people to enter paradise, or what is the greatest cause for people to enter paradise? He said حسن الخلق, good character. And if we keep on talking about what the Prophet ﷺ said about حسن الخلق, we will not end. But also the easygoingness. Isn't that something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted of us? Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, رحم الله رجلا سمحا إذا باع سمحا إذا اشترى سمحا إذا قضى سمحا إذا اقتضى? That samaha, that easygoingness. May Allah have mercy on someone who is easygoing when he buys, when he sells, when he pays his debts off, or makes a payment, or requests a payment, and so on. And, didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, تَبَسُّمُكَ فِي وَجْهِ أَخِيكَ صَدَقَةٌ? Your smile in the face of your brother is a charity. So we're talking about someone who's easygoing, has good character, and smiley, and so on. That's the instruction. That's the divine instruction. That's the prophetic instruction. That's what Allah and His Messenger wanted of us and required of us. Yet, this state does happen. And it happens to many people, and at different phases of their religious commitment or their journey, their spiritual journey. It happens to people at different phases of their spiritual journey. And it happens to people because of different reasons. That uptightness. First of all, I just would like to alert you to a fact that is important. Niceness is not the only value. Niceness is not the only quality that is desirable. There are other qualities that are desirable as well. Can you imagine marrying someone, a husband who is just only nice, but nothing else? So there is no commitment, there is no integrity, there is no truthfulness, there is no honesty. You could be nice and dishonest. You're just always nice, and not committed. There are so many other values, but it seems that in our times there is so much emphasis on niceness and lack of emphasis on the other qualities that are just as important, if not even more important. So I would take, integrity, compassion, truthfulness, I would put them at a higher level than niceness. And it has to do also with a change of values at like a higher level of abstraction. Niceness is basically a matter of placing a lot of value on freedom versus justice. In the past, the highest value is justice. In religious traditions, the highest value seems to have been justice. Also, traditional societies, the higher value seem to have been justice. But nowadays, it's about freedom. And your freedom to do whatever you want, and then the expectation is that everybody will continue to be nice to everybody, regardless of who's doing what. And niceness is not a bad quality. And certainly prudence is extremely important, even if you want to command good and forbid evil. You have to be prudent about it, and you have to be reasonable and sensible and so on. But niceness is not the only value, it's not the only quality. So that uptight religious person, why is he uptight, or why is she uptight? Well, it could be natural disposition. It could be also the upbringing and circumstances. And at an early phase, first of all, we have to, the first division here is that we have to say that it could be perceived, it could be real. We're talking about the real. We're not talking about the perceived. Because perceived to be, some people, they have, for instance, if they have majlis ghiba, for instance, if they're sitting together and backbiting or gossiping, if someone is not comfortable in their presence, if someone will start to say, well, let's not talk about people, or let's just mind our own business. If you just simply say that, you will be perceived as someone who's not agreeable. Because it's like every time you just ruin the party. So it doesn't seem to be, you don't seem to be agreeable. So that's perceived. And that perceived, we don't have to worry about this, because you're not really, you can't really basically meet people's expectations in this regard, if their expectations are sub-ethical or unethical. So you're not going to be able to worry about that. But what about the real uptightness? يضيق الخلق, makes the character difficult or causes uptightness. What about the real uptightness? Like I said, could be different phases. In an early phase of religiosity, of religious commitment, what causes the uptightness? Many things. One thing that causes the uptightness is natural disposition. I am just, usually like this, The other thing is upbringing and circumstances, and that is why we have to be also tolerant and forgiving. When we encounter someone who's uptight, he may be in the beginning of his journey. And it may be that this is his natural disposition and circumstances. This is upbringing, circumstances, different cultures. People have different sort of ways of dealing with others. And so you also have to be forgiving and wait and, pray for them and hope that one time they'll improve. And this uptightness will start to sort of vanish or disappear. The other thing that causes this uptightness is a misconstrued understanding of the religion, or, like sort of you're becoming more religiously committed, but your understanding of the religion is wrong. Your understanding of religiosity or piety is mistaken. Or you have sort of misplaced emphasis on legality and technicality versus spirituality and morality. And it is important to say that we have to have a balance. It is not like we're going to neglect legality. We're going to neglect haram and halal. What kind of religious commitment is this if you're going to neglect the commands and prohibitions and the sanctities of God and the sacred, bounds of God? Certainly not. We're not talking about this. But a balance between all of the above, spirituality, morality, and legality. Technicality, it depends on what you mean by technicality. The technicality, if you mean takalluf, which is hyper-technicality, then you want to basically not have any of that. But if you want technicality in the sense of being sort of conscious of what is correct and what is incorrect, that is a level of technicality that is desirable, but not at the expense of the other important aspects of the deen, spirituality and morality and so on. So it could be basically that they're just starting their journey. Whenever we start, our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and become more religiously committed, it depends on where we're coming from. We could be coming from the middle of the quagmire of every evil. And we may have put in a lot of effort to come to the point that we are at now. But you're not recognizing my effort because you have not seen where I came from, right? I could have covered a lot more distance than you because I was raised in a certain way, or I have a certain natural disposition that I have been fighting against, and I have made a lot of progress. You're not recognizing my progress. Allah is recognizing my progress. That's why you have to be tolerant and forgiving, because you don't know where they're coming from. Okay. But that is none of that, and this is just for us to be more tolerant and forgiving, but none of that is what the Shaykh is talking about here. The Shaykh is talking about the one who is really religious, really committed, have the proper understanding. But he's uptight, his uptightness is caused by his disinterest in what the people do, his higher standards. He has a higher code of standards. And therefore, whatever people will be doing, even if it is not haram, it will be somewhat suboptimal. If not sub-ethical, but at least suboptimal. Khilaf al-awla. Frivolous. Things will look to like nonsensical. You remember the video games last time we were talking about. So that will cause some uptightness. This uptightness will then be countered by what? The divine instruction. It is a feeling that you have. You're really disinterested. You're just really not comfortable in the environment. You're not comfortable with your surroundings. It is present. but it will be tempered by the divine instruction. وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. When I speak, I have to remember وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak good to people, or make sure that your speech is good. So وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا, literally speak good to people. I have to remember this. Even with the enemies, I have to remember وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ فَادْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. Good and evil are not equal. Repel that which is evil by that which is better, not just that which is good, that which is best. أحسن. فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. And all of a sudden, the one between whom and you there is animosity will become an intimate friend, will become a close ally. I have to remember this. So that feeling that I have inside, that uptightness, that discomfort with the qualities of people and so on, will be tempered by reminding myself of the divine instruction that I'm not here to judge them, I'm here to help them. That whatever I think, I have to be prudent about how I express it. Maybe I should try to encourage them to do something better, for themselves and for the community, or I have to know how to get to it without hurting them, etc., etc. So يضيق الخلق, causes uptightness, is a real thing. And it is not just at the beginning of the journey, it's not just because of natural disposition of our upbringing or circumstances. That is different from what the Shaykh is talking about. He's talking about the one who is correctly religious, the one who's spiritual, the one who's moral, the one who's everything, but still has this uptightness. Okay. And then he says, وَيُبَغِضُ الْخَلْقَ, makes the people dislikable. And that is harder to explain. Makes the people dislikable. But at the end of the day, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to his messenger, you will not find that the majority of people will be believers, will be good doers. There is so much evil, there is so much defiance against Allah, there is so much evil in the world. So it is not really unexpected that you will have those feelings. But those feelings also will be tempered by the counter feelings, which is your keenness, your eagerness to save people, your also, your recognition of the human fraternity, human brotherhood. Human brotherhood is real, and is not inconsequential. Al-Ukhuwa al-Insaniyya is not inconsequential. Human brotherhood is a real thing. وَإِلَىٰ عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودًا. And the Quran talks about, when we sent to Ad, their brotherhood, and with the rest of the prophets as well. The Quran used their brother Salih, their brother Lut, their brother this. So in this case, we will have to remember our brotherhood or sisterhood. Ukhuwa in Arabic is genderless. So we have to remember our brotherhood and our sisterhood. And that will, the disliking in this case is basically disliking at the end of the day, although it is hard to separate between the action and the actor. The disliking at the end of the day is about the action. Because you want the best for the actor. And if you hate the actor, you would want their destruction. Isn't that true? Okay, so at the end of the day, hate is about what? Just like ill feelings, and if the object of hate is the actor, you will want the destruction and the ruin. But if you are so eager to save them, if you're looking after their salvation, their survival, then the object of hate here is what? Their action. Their action that is causing them ruin and destruction. So think about it. It just can't be explained in any other way. If you hate someone, if the object of hate is the person, you would want their demise, destruction. But if you are running after them, wanting their survival, wanting their salvation, and until the last breath that would come out of your, my uncles, just say it, please say it. I will be your sort of shafi'ah. I will intercede on your behalf. Just please say it. So if that is your feeling, then the object of hate here is not the person. Okay. So that is the at the end of it. That is what it means to say وَيُبَغِضُ الْخَلْقِ makes the people dislikable. It is making those qualities, those actions, this evil that they commit, dislikable. Then the Shaykh said, وَيُلَذِّذُ الْمَوْتَ, and makes the notion of death delightful or pleasing. And this is not really about nihilism. And we said, like, the best thing that we can say is what Wahib ibn al-Ward said, أَحَبُّهُمَا إِلَى اللَّهِ أَحَبُّهُمَا إِلَيْهِ أَحَبُّهُمَا إِلَى اللَّهِ أَحَبُّهُمَا إِلَيْهِ. When Yusuf ibn Asbat and Sufyan al-Thawri, each one of them said, I don't mind, I wish I would die soon, and I don't mind to live longer. And then Wahib ibn al-Ward said, أَحَبُّهُمَا إِلَى اللَّهِ أَحَبُّهُمَا إِلَيْهِ. What is more beloved to Allah is more beloved to me. Whatever my Lord wants, So, but at the end of the day, life is beautiful, and the creation mandate is to اعمروها, and هو أنشأكم من الأرض واستعمركم فيها. He brought you out of earth. Salih said to his people, he brought you out of earth and he made you settle in it. But استعمركم means that he requested you, he demanded that you develop it. That's the good stewardship of the earth. So development and progress and all of these things. So nihilism is not really something that Islam encourages at all whatsoever. But at the end of the day also, من أحب لقاء الله أحب الله لقاءه. Whoever loves to meet with Allah, Allah will love to meet with him. So death is not that abhorred, is not that basically feared by us. We are here. This is Mazra'at al-Akhirah. We're sowing the good seeds for the harvest in the hereafter. Sowing our good seeds here to harvest them in the hereafter. We're making the best of this dunya to serve the cause of Allah, basically, and to uphold that cultural mandate, the creation mandate. إِنِّي جَعْلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I will have a vicegerent on earth, an agent on earth to develop it, to take care of it. We're doing this, but at the end of the day, when death comes, we should be ready, and we should not be that afraid of it either, because it brings us closer to meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said, Shaykh said, وَالدَّرَجَةُ الثَّانِيَةِ, and he will move now. The first daraja is usually for the abid. The second daraja is for the murid. The third daraja is for the wali. So abid, murid, wali, beginner, intermediate, and finalist, or advanced. So the second daraja here that the Shaykh talks about, الثانية قلب يغالب العقل يخلي السمع ويطاول الطاقة. Second level is an anxiety that contends with reason. يغالب العقل, contends with reason. It's not يغلب العقل. It does not completely defeat reason. It contends with reason. It is trying to snatch reason away from reality. It's trying to basically give you like an alternate reality. And like we said, that the way of Allah, the way of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions was what? Tamakkun and baqa, the awareness, sobriety, not intoxication, and basically to stay true to the mission. They were commissioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be his agents on earth, to uphold the cause, the divine cause on earth, and so on. They continued to be true to the mission. They continued to be committed to the mission. Without intoxication, without being absent from reality, they were deeply rooted in reality. Still, their hearts تطوف حول العرش. Their hearts circumambulate the throne. Connected to their Lord, but deeply rooted in the reality. So يغالب العقل contends with reason. It tries to take you away from the reality. It tries to take you away from this life and give you sort of somewhat an alternate reality where you enjoy, eventually it contends with reason until it gets you to the third level, which is fana, which is to basically annihilation, to dissolve into the divine. And then ويخلي السمع, and deafens the ears. Deafens the ears, يخلي السمع, you become, and that's the basically what they talk about when stilam. It is basically the one of the manifestations of intoxication or sukr. You're in and out, contends with reason. And then ويخلي السمع, it deafens the ears. You're not hearing except the divine. So people are talking to you, and it's not, people are giving you mawa'az and instructions and so on. And sometimes they're not sincere mawa'az, and sometimes they're not good counsel, and people are talking about their various pursuits in life and interests in life, and you're deaf because you're only hearing the divine. So then وَيُطَاوِلُ الطَّاقَ, and it overwhelms the endurance. Overwhelms the endurance. It's يُطَاوِلُ الطَّاقَ, overwhelms the endurance may be a good translation, but the idea here is it does not completely defeat your endurance. It does not completely suppress your endurance. You still have endurance, because the Shaykh keeps the third level for fana. Because once your endurance has been completely suppressed or eliminated, then you will get into fana. But up until now, you're still at the border of fana. The Shaykh is talking about the second level. And as we said, I keep repeating this, the way of the Prophet ﷺ and his messenger is the way of baqa. And fana is not even a necessary bridge to baqa. And it is best to subsist with Allah, for Allah, and by Allah. But for the Shaykh, fana seems, particularly in this book, to be the highest station. Certain elements of fana, we have always talked about them. Certain elements of fana or self-annihilation, the suppressing of the ego to the point that it does not contend with you and during this journey. Basically conformity to the divine will, where your will is in complete conformity with the divine will. The shuhud also, the fana of a shuhud, basically your beholding of the people will be such that it will never cause you distraction, impediment, or slow you down. All that is valid concepts of fana. But The fana that the Shaykh is talking about, the complete dissolving, the absorption into the beloved and so on, is not a necessary bridge to the baqa of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, subsisting with Allah, for Allah and by Allah. And it is not superior, and it is not even a necessary bridge. Keep that in mind. Then the Shaykh said, وَالدَّرَجَةُ الثَّالِثَةُ قَلَقٌ لَا يَرْحَمُ أَبَدًا وَلَا يَقْبَلُ أَمَدًا وَلَا يُبْقِي أَحَدًا. قلق لا يرحم أبدا ولا يقبل أمدا ولا يبقي أحدا. The third level is an anxiety that never shows mercy, never recognizes limits or terms, and never spares anyone. That is the fana. Your anxiety now, at the root of this is love. Love causes yearning. The yearning, when it is stirred, when you drop patience, you relinquish patience, like you don't want to be patient anymore. That causes the anxiety. You're anxious. And this third level here, your anxiety is so intense that it does not give you any break. Does not show mercy, meaning does not give you any break. Just doesn't give you any break. You want to get to your final goal, which is basically your union, your jamma with the divine, your union with the divine. Not in the sense of the merger, not in the Neoplatonic sense, because Islam is not Neoplatonic, and not in the sense of the fight or emanation and then merger back where you came from, because that idea of merger, that idea of union in the sense of like reuniting with the divine comes from the idea of emanation, that all reality is coming from the divine through emanation, through fight. That is not Islamic in any way, shape, or form. That is Neoplatonic, and we have to be aware of this. We have to stay away from these philosophies. Allah created us. We are His creations. He is our creator. There is a difference between the creation and the creator. We came from Him through creation. He created us. He brought us out of nothingness into existence because He's capable of creation, out of nothingness. That's the definition of creation. That's why He's different from any maker. He's a creator. He brings, the creation out of nothingness into existence. So, but the union that we're talking about here is your togetherness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sense of being in the presence of Allah, not distracted by anything else, and surrendering your will completely to His divine will. Okay, so until you get to that union, your anxiety does not give you any breaks. Like, you will always be looking like someone who is anxious. Short of your final destination, you'll continue to be anxious. لا يرحم أبدا, does not give you any breaks. ولا يقبل أمدا, never recognizes limits or terms. It's an anxiety that you cannot control. You cannot tame it. It's not like an anxiety. It's not like basically a tameable horse that you're riding to your destination and then you could like pull the leash and then it slows down. No, it is untamable, untamed horse that is taking you to your destination. It carries you, but you don't control the speed. You're not in control of the limits, you're not in control of the terms, you're not in control anymore. You're not holding on to the leash. This. And then وَلَا يُبْقِي أَحَدًا, and never spares anyone, because it will cause them to yafna, to get into the state of according to Shaykh. that station of anxiety, and certainly, like I said in the beginning, someone may say, who wants that? Who would want that? How could the religion cause people to have an anxiety? Shouldn't the religion cause people to have the opposite? Tuma'nina. Didn't we just finish the station of Tuma'nina in the section of the valleys, where we're not talking about serenity, or we're not talking about calmness? These are different states. It does not, they contend with each other inside you. But each one of them has its own place. And some level of anxiety would be expected. Some level of discomfort, with the surroundings would be expected. Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say, فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاء, then glad tidings be for the ghuraba, the strangers. These are states that will be experienced, will be tempered by each other, will be countered by each other. Eventually, in your conduct, in your external conduct, you're bound by the divine instruction. You're bound by the prophetic instruction, and that is what you will go by. But that is not the only form of anxiety that the Shaykh talks about. There are other forms of anxiety. And if we talk about different forms of anxiety, I think there are 4 different forms of anxiety. There is this anxiety. There is an anxiety that results from uncertainty, right? Isn't that true? People who are uncertain, they have some level of anxiety, a great level, a deal of anxiety. Which is on the opposite side of this anxiety that the Shaykh is talking about, right? It's the exact opposite of this. This is an anxiety caused by certainty. This is anxiety caused by certainty. And then you want to get to your final destination. You're certain of you're certain of your destination, but you have an anxiety because you can't wait. وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. I hasten to you, my Lord, so that you be pleased. But then on the opposite side, there is an anxiety because of uncertainty. And then there is an anxiety because the anxiety that most people experience in this life is not because of this or because of that. Some people are indifferent to all of the above. Their anxiety is because of greed for money, for status, for this, for that, health, children, a lot of things that would cause people to have an anxiety. And finally, there is an anxiety that is caused by disease, an anxiety that is really a psychiatric condition that requires treatment. Although it could benefit from, the same remedies of other forms of anxiety, but it could, at the end of the day, require treatment. So the anxiety that is caused by uncertainty, the treatment for that anxiety is basically knowledge and practice, faith through practice. That's it. Acquisition of faith, whether it's spontaneous, natural, or evidentialist, probabilistic, meaning that the more evidence you're exposed to, the more convinced you become. And so you seek both ways to, faith and to certainty. That increasing the probability by beginning more exposure to more evidence. That series on the signs of prophethood of the Prophet ﷺ, go to Yaqeen, and I prescribe it for people to go to Yaqeen Institute and basically read the series on the signs of the prophethood of Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ. If you go through one after the other, and so on, and not necessarily for every one of us. I cannot deny that it would benefit me to go through it again and read it and so on. So I think that for people who have doubts, many people nowadays, the evidentialist way to faith seems to resonate with them because of the culture, because it's a culture of evidentialists in general, you know. But then the spontaneous, the natural way of acquisition of faith is not less important in any way. But like I said, for the masses, they need to have this exposure. So that's basically the treatment of that anxiety that results from this uncertainty. You will encourage them, but if they are at a point where they are not practicing because they are not certain, then you can't tell them natural acquisition of faith. How can they naturally acquire it? How can they spontaneously acquire it if they're not even... So that essentialist approach, they call it also probabilistic, in the sense that a probability just likes proportion your assent to the evidence. Proportion your assent to the evidence. It's a wisdom, it's true. Proportion your assent to the evidence. And so that is a probabilistic approach. And then when you read the signs of the prophethood, when you read, you know, for instance, the last one, was it published? The physical miracle? Okay. So that will be, but anyway, you know, that will be, it's not the last one, it's...
Second to last. It's coming out very soon.
Okay. Yeah, Shaykh Muhammad is the one who wrote it. So but if you basically point people to that series, I think they will benefit. One evidence at a time. Their faith will grow one evidence at a time, versus people's faith, the other people's faith that grows one rak'ah at a time. For some people, their faith will grow one evidence at a time. Okay, so but then there is an anxiety that is caused by greed, and for this anxiety that is caused by greed, the treatment for this, you know, ما ذئبان جائعان يرسل في غنم بأفسد لهما من حرص المرء على المال والشرف لدينه. So two hungry wolves set loose into a flock of sheep will not cause more destruction to them or harm to them than someone's eagerness for status and wealth will cost to their religious commitment, to their deen, to their religious commitment. And that causes an anxiety. You're always anxious about your health, what could happen to you and your career and your children and these. So that would be the treatment for this, is basically to reflect on the worth of this dunya. That's very important. Maybe you would say qadar is the first treatment, to believe in destiny, it is the first treatment, but also equally important to reflect on the worth of this dunya. Is it really worth it to have all that anxiety? Is the dunya worth all of that anxiety? So these are the two sort of the strongest treatments of that anxiety. But also, there is a third treatment that may be also very, very effective to treat that anxiety, is to look for inner fulfillment. Because if you are dependent on external fulfillment, you'll always be anxious, because external fulfillment. So if you're dependent in your happiness and your fulfillment on your career, on the pleasure of your spouse, on your reputation, your status, your fame, your this, all of these things are external, right? Are any of these guaranteed? No. Will they, by definition, then cause you an anxiety? Of course. But what if you have another way to fulfillment? Inner fulfillment. What if you look for a greater meaning, purpose for your life, and you enjoy that inner fulfillment? Will that not help you? You could still be working hard to advance your career, but will that not help you with your anxiety? Yes, because at the end of the day, if you lost in your career or your relationships or lost anything, you still have that inner fulfillment to count on, and that is your most important, way to fulfillment. Is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your connection with the ultimate good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is the fourth type of anxiety, which is anxiety that is caused by natural disposition. Some people have sort of chemically produced anxiety, and some people are prone to anxiety. Some people are more prone to depression. These things are not always a result of lack of faith or anything of that nature, although they may be. But they could always be helped by more faith, even if they are chemically produced, or even if they are the result of some chemical imbalance, or if they are physical in origin. They still could help from the advice above. They could still help from more belief in qadar, destiny, the more reflection on the worth of this dunya, finding fulfillment in things other than those external, causes of fulfillment. But someone who is anxious because they are prone, because of their natural disposition, because they suffer from some chemical imbalance, you still at the end of the day will tell them, you'll prescribe talbina for them, tell them to just boil barley and add honey to it or something, and eat it or drink it, whatever. It could be, thick enough to be eaten. So, but at the end of the day, you'll tell them, go see a doctor, go see a psychiatrist, and find yourself help. These are four different types of anxiety. An anxiety that's caused by certainty, an anxiety that's caused by uncertainty, an anxiety about life, is an anxiety about your things in life that people care for, and then an anxiety that's caused by natural disposition or illness, psychiatric illness. That would bring us to the end of this chapter on anxiety. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tuma'nina. May Allah give us enough anxiety to motivate us on this journey. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immerse us in serenity and in uns, also comforting intimacy with Him Azza wa Jal. قولوا قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.